push to start. It's kind of funny how like those three little words can mean something totally different to a lot of us. When some of us think of push to start, we're probably thinking about that little button in our cars, right? Just to get the engine going. Now, for some of us, I'm not going to call any ages out here, but if you had to deal with push to start, you probably dealt with the manual transmission, and you probably had to actually push that thing just to get it going again. And I don't know what Peter's doing behind Paula right now, but that's here nor there. But whether we're talking about automobiles, Peter and Paula, life in general, it ultimately comes down to this. It's addressing both innovation and progress. And in the world that we live in today, we're actually looking at artificial intelligence in the same factor, innovation and progress. Some of us see it as innovative, but do we really see it as progress? And a lot of us are trying to balance our way through this thing, just trying to figure it all out. Now, speaking of balance, life today is pretty much like us walking on a tightrope, right? Like, especially around the world of artificial intelligence, like we're trying to steady our balance. We don't want to topple over on one side or the other side. But the goal is we really want to look at it from a different perspective, because on one side, we have an opportunity of a promised transformed future where using artificial intelligence could change our work lives and our personal lives. But if we're not really mindful of the experience and the opportunity that is in front of us, we can be putting ourselves in a position of not considering the real consequences that are out there. But then on the other side of this same balance beam or this tightrope walk that we're on, we might find ourselves in a land of comfort. You know, a lot of us are probably like, man, if it's not broke, why fix it? Why even change it at all? But I get it though. Like, the land of familiar is probably where a lot of us would like to stay, because we just dealt with Web3, we're dealing with Bitcoin and crypto this and everything in between. But if we stay there and we do nothing though, we can find ourselves getting left behind. So we gotta find a healthy balance of the two, where we see that there's opportunity and there's mindfulness when we're dealing with artificial intelligence. And so for me, your guy Ty, I'm all about that push to start life. Like, I embrace change like anybody else, probably even more. And I want to welcome each and every one of you on this adventure of embracing change brought on by artificial intelligence. Now, this philosophy that I have, though, this push to start concept, this idea is really built on the three pillars of the three C's that I like to call it. You have curiosity, that's one. You have courage, which is another. And then you also have clarity. And so the goal today is really to put you in a position to, how do you implement the three C's into this ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence? So let's kick it off with curiosity. It's the approach to change with an open mind. Like, when you're looking at artificial intelligence and AI in general today, for me, the way I see it is, you have to be curious about it at least. You don't want to just shun it and just say, oh man, this is just another tool. This is just another fad. Well, some of us know, and I have some colleagues in here and some family that know, like, this is not going anywhere. And so you have to be curious. And that came to me so early in my current career where I work now, where I had a senior leader sit down with me one time and he said, always be curious. Now, I've worked at different companies before, and you know, they don't mind you being creative and having cool ideas, but to be curious, that seemed to be a little bit more open. And there's no gates around that idea. Because for me, I've never worked in the financial sector before. Like, I've worked at different companies, but the way I looked at it was, I got to try to fit into this company. I got to try to make it work. But what they told me was, don't try to be something that you think that we want you to be. We want you to bring the value and the insights of why we hired you to the table. This was like a crazy revelation for me, because now it wasn't permission to just let my imagination run rampant and do whatever the hell I want to do. It was really about asking yourself the right questions, though. Like, for me, we fast forwarded to November 2022 when a tool called ChatGPT came out. I saw this as my open opportunity of activating that curiosity that I was encouraged to take advantage of. So what I did was I took full advantage of discovering and learning by asking the right questions. Like, not only am I going to build a new skill set for myself, but how does this add value to the bigger picture? Because the same leader said, hey, Figure out a way to be open-minded and apply curiosity to not only your task, but your projects and the systems that are made available to you. And so in doing so, that's how I applied it myself when I embarked into the embracing change around curiosity around what I did for work. And so it helped out with what I got to do on the social media side of things. It helped out clients that we got to serve. And so my curiosity opened up new opportunity. But now curiosity is good and all. And again, it's not about just having a vivid imagination and just letting it stay there. The other C is courage. It's the strength to persevere through challenges. Because a lot of times we might be in love with the idea, but that's where it stays though. And that's not the goal. Like you shouldn't have ideas and you're just jotting them down, but you're fearful of presenting them to people that you think could add additional value to it. So when we're looking at courage, it's not this idea of like you're doing something fearless. You're actually doing it in spite of the fear, or whether it deals with rejection or not. I'd like to share a little story that's something a little personal for me. My mom, she was adopted as an infant, and it was a closed adoption, so she never knew any of her family members, like anybody connected to her biologically. And so me being the good son, because I think I'm a good son, I'm that dude. Thank you, Mama. I thought it would be a good idea to get her a DNA test, saying, hey, let's go ahead and find out your background, your lineage. Let's dig into those roots and figure out who are you connected to. She was really excited about it. But, as time went by, I'm showing her how to use the application and, and figure out how to connect with different people using the platforms. But then there was a day where we had a phone call conversation, and I can sense a bit of hesitation in her voice. Now, part of me being a protective son, I'm like, I know none of these jokers is bothering my mama now. Like, they better not be rejecting her. Because she's been doing her due diligence of reaching out on Facebook and other platforms just to connect with people. And I was like, all right, what's going on, Mom? Because you're usually bubbly and you seem very hesitant. And she was like, all right, Ty, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I feel like I'm actually starting over. And in that moment, I got it because she also added to it that I don't even know if I even want to continue to move forward with this. And a lot of us feel like that, right? Like when you're embarking in something new, you might be overly excited in the beginning, but then the reality of the situation sets in. You're thinking about like, what if, as from the worst case scenario? But what if we really viewed it from the best case scenario instead? So during that conversation, I took full advantage of actually having a conversation with her. I'm like, hey, this isn't just about you in the moment. There's a bigger picture view of this situation. Because as people of faith, like we got to step out into areas and in environments where we have to deal with rejection. And that's okay. Because that connection that you're going to make with that person potentially could benefit them. How do you know that you're not an answer that they've been looking for? And so for me, the way that I applied it to artificial intelligence is that, hey, when I decided to embark into AI, I could have dealt with rejection with my senior leaders and other colleagues like, dude, what are you doing? Did you get permission to even do that? Right? But there was an opportunity for me to try something different. I took that curiosity and applied action to it. And in doing so, with my mom, she pushed herself to start embracing that change around curiosity and courage. And in doing so, she was able to connect to other family members that she never knew in her entire life. She has siblings she just discovered. She has aunts she just got to meet. What is on the other side of courage for you? So I just addressed curiosity and courage. Again, curiosity is the spark. It's where we learn and grow. It's our imagination. Courage is, hey, what's on the other side? It's pretty much like that leap of faith. But clarity to me is very vital because it is a clear vision for navigating change. It gives us perspective. And we have to have that. I feel like it's one of the most important pillars, in my opinion, because if you don't consider clarity in anything that you do, you're walking around with blinders on. You're putting yourself in a position of thinking that everything is just about you and not thinking about how it's impacting the rest of the world. Because it's not about the present or the future, but also what happened in the past. Like today, we live in a world where we're probably more divided than ever, where we're dealing with politics and artificial intelligence. And I get it. I said it earlier, I'm a zealot for change, right? So I'll jump on anything that's new. But I also have to have a level of mindfulness and empathy that not everybody is on the same page. And so in doing so, one of the things that we have to also do with establishing clarity is, what questions are we really asking? Is there a level of mindfulness to really say, hey, you're not on the same page as I am, but that's okay. Like, we have to consider that everybody is dealing with things differently. Because the way that things are moving, progress is still inevitable, but you can't rush everybody at the exact same time. Because some of you don't even know this, but back in the 80s or 90s, did you know that the pager, and I might be aging myself, and maybe some of you in the room, that the pager was once considered something that only drug dealers used? But then you fast forward that you find that professionals like doctors actually benefited from the use of the pager. So it's kind of crazy that something that used to be frowned upon and had all this negativity attached to it eventually got to a point to where it actually added more value to our lives. So I want all of you to kind of picture this, because as you see here, I'm standing on this infamous TEDx red carpet here. And probably like many of my fellow speakers, we know that this is the boundary that is set for our lives. Like, don't you deviate from this area, right? But here's the thing though, what if we let curiosity loose? What if we just allowed ourselves to just think outside of the red circle in our lives? Now again, it's fun to think about it. We'll ideate about stuff all day. But now we have to apply courage to the situation. It's not about just having good ideas, it's also about applying those ideas. What if I had the courage to deviate away from what is expected and step away from this? Is there a risk involved with that? Maybe. I don't know. Whew. All right now. I could have stayed in the land of curiosity and let my imagination just run wild with the possibility of something without ever taking action. But when I allowed myself to embrace courage, though, now I'm in a different position. Now I see what's on the other side of it. I actually have clarity now because I can see all of your beautiful faces in the room. I'm able to connect with many of you probably afterwards, maybe get a photo, maybe exchange some LinkedIn information. But in doing so, it gave me a different perspective as well, that I'm kind of close to the edge of the stage. And if I didn't have clarity, I can not only just put the organization at risk with what might happen to me, but even myself. And so my goal for you is that, how are you going to embrace change through curiosity, courage, and clarity? I need you to take advantage of your own metaphorical stage that you live through every single day, especially around artificial intelligence. Because for me, the future is yours to shape. And I look forward to seeing all of the accomplishments that many of you are going to do moving forward. My name is Ty. Thank you.